Welcome back to Grid Gym. Today we're going over rational change and how we can actually segment this out so that we can work our mind through it so we know what to expect for the changes that we actually want to make in our lives for the health of our body. So first, before I get into that, 8:25 this Saturday, registration starts at 8 a.m. for the Move Strong Games. It's a friendly competition with yourself. We shouldn't even have called it a competition. We should have just called it, just said, it's just a game, right? But outside, the events are going to be a crosswalk, which is just carrying two heavy kettlebells, one of different weights, a scoop pass where you have to scoop it down between your legs, throw it up over your head, and you're throwing that over the A-frame. There's probably about 12, 15 feet. And then the row is an inverted row, and then there's a wild card at the end. Simultaneously inside, there's going to be a shot put, a bear crawl, a deadlift, and a rope. So the two events are going to go on at the same time, so everybody's going to separate. You have to be here at 8 a.m. though, because we have to do a certain few things to make sure connection available. Oh, okay. Facebook's trying to tell me something. Anyway, to make sure that we have the right weights for you and everything. So I'm going to get rid of this, but know that 8:25 this Saturday, be there at 8 a.m. Events start at 9 a.m. Should be a really fun time. And perspectives are waiting. No, spectators. That's what that's called. Spectators are welcome as well. So athletes and spectators, definitely show up. Should be a good time. We're going to try to get everybody out in under 2 hours. But this is rational change. How do we actually get extremely rational about the changes that we want to make in our life? Okay? Because I think I know that I make this error where I look at a change and I'm like, all right, I'm going to make that change, and then you underestimate how much actually goes into making that change, how much habit you already have built into your other way. And I think this really gets into the commitment thing of that you're always committed. You're either committed to the life that you do want, or that you're committed to the life that you're going to get by default. And I think it's really easy to dig into that you're just you're not going to make a plan, and so you ended up planning to have the default. I don't know if not planning is a plan to fail. But I do think that not planning is definitely a plan for getting whatever you were just going to get without the effort towards what you did want. I mean, maybe you end up it happens to be that it all worked out that way, but that's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough go. I think you got to get really, really, really clear with what you do want, and then you're more likely to get it. I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to get it, but you're more likely to get it. So what do we do here? How do we do this change thing? Well, first we have to acknowledge that there's a catalyst. I don't know why I spelled it that way, but there's a catalyst, right? There's a catalyst that happens. Something happens. This could be, for me in terms of health, it was when the doctor walked in and said, you might not walk again. That was I'm writing that story in the Move Strong matrix right now, and in the book that I'm writing on strength. It's like that's when it happened for me. Before the doctor said, you might not ever walk again. Well, 6 weeks before that, I was training to play football. And 6 months before that, I was playing college football. So a doctor telling me that it was a catalyst to a perspective shift on strength and conditioning and physical therapy and all this stuff, not being just about how to be better on a field or a court or a mat. I never really was on a court, but you get what I'm saying. So there has to be a catalyst. There has to be something. This could be a death in the family. It could be something really horrific. It could be something. But before you have this, I'm actually jumping around a little bit. You have business as usual. Everybody's going to start out business as usual, the life that they were just going to have by default. The usual, business as usual, everything's normal. Then they have a catalyst. Something happens. Now, the reality is that we're hit with catalysts all the time. It's just whether we use them or not. I think this is what happened. This is what's happening when you get into the law of attraction stuff, is that you actually notice the catalyst. That the catalyst is like apparent. It's at the top of your mind. You're like, oh my gosh, it was fate that I saw this thing there. And I almost guarantee you saw that thing 500 times before that last time that you saw it, where it really made all the difference in the world. So you have a catalyst, which leads you to something new. Okay? A new idea, a new way of living, a new way of thinking, a new perspective, something new. You have this new thing that you don't really quite know what to do with. Now, there's two options that we can take here. Okay? We can reject the info. Okay? We reject the info. We're like, okay, this new thing, it's not going to work for me. I see this happen with people like, well, that won't work for me. It's like, all right, well, will that not work for you, or will you not work for it? There's two different things going on there. Because most things, for the most part, will work. It's just how well they'll work. Or the means by which you got there. Like, you could look at CrossFit and say it works as far as from a fat loss perspective because they're using high intensity interval training. It's like, well, high intensity interval training is fantastic for fat loss. However, it's a type of cardio, not a type of strength, power, or speed. It's not, the means by which we got there, if we got a bunch of injuries along the way, well, did we actually get the thing? So did it work for you or did it not work for you? There's a lot of perspectives around that. So you could reject the info. Back to this. You could reject the info, automatically sends you back to business as usual. You just reject it. No big deal. Done. Catalyst happened, new idea, rejected the info, went back to business as usual. Or you can accept. You can accept the info. The information has been accepted. You've thought about it. You've rolled it over in your head. You're like, you know what? I'm going to take the chance on this. I'm going to see what this could become. I'm going to work at this. I'm going to put everything I have to it. Now you have this very interesting new thing. You have a new opportunity. I'm just going to write in. I can't write that because it looks like no. New opportunity. You have a new opportunity, a new thing. And the new opportunity is powerful. Because with a new opportunity, you don't have to admit that you failed everything in your past, which you didn't. Most of the things that in your past probably failed you more than you failed them. In the exercise world, I can almost guarantee that. That the exercise world failed you more than you failed it. Because either, there's so many, I don't even want to get into it, because it's like infinite levels of things that got in your way. But you probably didn't fail your last exercise program. Your last exercise program probably failed you. For a lot of different reasons. So you've got this new opportunity. What are you going to do with it? Now, we still have the ability. Anytime we can quit. At any time in all of this, we can quit. We can go back to rejection. Okay, so we have the ability to quit and go back. Failure is always an option. I think this is a funny thing when people are like, failure's not an option. Yeah, it is. You can fail at any moment in time. You can quit at any moment in time. Nothing is stopping you from doing so. It's in your mind of whether you're going to take that challenge or leave it or let it down. It's always there. And if you do not acknowledge it, you become its slave. And you will quit before you even realize that you had quit. And you'll look back 10 years in the future, you will look back to now and you'll be like, you know what, I did quit. I totally gave up. But right here, it looks a lot like a justification. Anyway, so now we've got the new opportunity. We have the opportunity to quit, but we don't. We go to practice. Because that's what it's going to take. We're going to have to do the thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over. There's that interview with Marshawn Lynch where he's like, if I just run through a motherfucker's face over and over and over, he says over and over like 40 times. And then Marshawn Lynch, funny guy. But he's like, anyway, go look it up. Marshawn Lynch, over and over and over. It'll be great. But you practice, and you practice until you make an error. And then you make another error. And then you make another error. And you practice this thing, and you get extremely good at disciplining yourself to keep on practicing. Because the thing that I see the most is that people get smacked in the face one time, and they lay down on the ground. Now, if you want to be, like, let's say you want to be world champion at something. You want to be a world champ boxer. What are you going to have to do a lot? You're going to have to show up to the gym. You're going to have to get punched in the face. And you're going to have to punch somebody else in the face a bunch. And it's going to sting. And you're going to get knocked down. And you're going to have days that aren't very good. And you're going to have to fight people who are better than you so that you can get better. And then eventually, you keep getting back up and getting back up. The biggest error I see is that someone makes one error. They get punched in the face one time. Life knocks them down one time, and they don't get back up. So I'm saying there's a level of discipline here because we can learn from the error. We have to have the courage to acknowledge the error, learn from the error, move on from the error. And then we have to have this cycle of discipline practice, discipline practice, back and forth. And this just goes on and on. I mean, this could go on for a year. It could go on for 10 years. Who knows? And this is where we start to anticipate. We start to anticipate the error. This is where You know that you need to pack your bag the night before, throw it into your car the morning of, and not go home to get your bag, to go to the gym, to change your to go home to change your clothes. Instead, you have the bag in the car so you can go right to the gym, because you know that if you go home, the fear, the error that you're going to make isn't going to look like, oh, I'm making an error. It's going to look like your couch. It's going to look like a bag of cookies. It's going to look like whatever is going to sabotage your progress to what you want. Nothing's wrong with your couch or the bag of cookies. It's just got to come at the right time, right? So we do this over and over and over and over and over. And remember, we always have the ability to quit and go back. We can quit at any point in time. And that's the biggest error that I see people make. This is the worst error that I can possibly imagine. And really, if we want to talk about the worst error that I can possibly imagine, it's trying to justify, trying to come up with reasons for why you didn't go for what you wanted to do. That sounds like the worst error to me. Like to me, I think people are focused on the wrong problem. I think you're going to have problems. Problems are inevitable. They are going to come up. You are going to make errors. And if you are going to do so, then focus on the errors that might actually get you something. Like, am I getting too lean? Are my muscles getting too big? Am I eating too healthy? Those sound like a lot better errors than try to figure out why you didn't go for it in the first place. Like the biggest error I can think of is at the end of my life trying to come up with reasons to justify why I didn't go and do the thing. That's what sounds like the biggest error to me. But anyway, quitting is always an option, so we do this over and over and over again. Then eventually we get a new habit. We've done this so much that we've developed a habit. It's just what we do. It's just a part of us. It's just in our life. We don't even think about not doing the thing. We just do it. It's not something, you don't have to think about cooking at the end of the day. It's just something you're going to do. It's not an extra energy. It's just something you're going to do. It's not weird to go to the gym 5 days a week because it's just what you do. It'd be more weird if you didn't than if you did. That's the new habit. And when you get the new habit, this takes us to what we wanted in the first place. The desired outcome. This is where we wanted to go when we started back here with the new catalyst. Now, this is what the reason that I put this up here is because look how long this is. I mean, this is just business as usual. This takes up your whole life. You never think about it. Bam! Something happens. You get a new idea. You reject it. You go back to business as usual. But you accept it, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to explore this new opportunity. And then you spend all this time right here, all this work right here. And people think that you just go from there to there. And it's like, just do it. No, not just do it. Just do it. It just makes it too simple. It doesn't, if you were enough, you'd just do the thing that you set out to do. If I was enough, I wouldn't be such a lazy piece of shit. If I was enough, I'd just be able to get my desired outcome without thinking about it. If I was enough, I'd achieve all of my dreams. But yeah, it's just such a recipe for underestimation. You have this, you get the two options, you always get two options, you always get to quit and go back to rejection. You reject your own dream, you get the new opportunity, then you spend all this time right here, and this might be years and decades possibly, then you get the new habit that gets you the desired outcome. And the new habit might be that you face your fears, I don't know, but that's what gets you to your desired outcome. But when I talk about the tortoise and the hare, that the story is about underestimation, just to backtrack and cover myself here, the tortoise and the hare, the hare goes and takes a nap, the tortoise puts his head down and goes as hard as he possibly can. The tortoise is not going slow. The tortoise is slow and steady. The tortoise is going as fast as he possibly can. The hare goes and takes his nap, underestimates his opponent. By the time he wakes up, realizes how close the hare is to finishing. So he kicks it into high gear and tries to beat him, but he doesn't. And the moral of the story somehow has become slow and steady wins the race. No, every single race that has ever been run got won by the fastest person. The one that went the fastest won, even in long distance races. So the story is about underestimation. Now, but you can go with different perspectives here because really very few of us are the tortoise. Remember, the tortoise was courageous enough to take a challenge in the face of sure defeat. The tortoise put his head down and went as hard as he possibly could the entire race. The the hare underestimated his opponent. Should have beat his opponent bad, but didn't, because he underestimated his opponent. We're all the hare. We all underestimate. We all underestimate how much work is involved to get from business as usual to desired outcome. And it's because we don't acknowledge this whole process that has to happen, and we don't acknowledge that at any point in time we could quit. And this is a sneaky one. Any of us could quit at any moment in time. But that's sneaky, and that's a huge error. That's the biggest error you will find, because there you will have to justify reasons for why you didn't go for the thing that you actually wanted in the first place. Anyway, that's my little talk on rational change, actually thinking it through logically, using your mind to think critically about the steps that you are going to have to do to get to the desired outcome. Because the world tries to make it, status quo tries to make it sound like usual, desired outcome, and it just sort of happens. But that is just not the case. We have to go through all this crap. And we have to spend tons of time right here figuring it all out. And at some point along the line, there is so much just in this little segment right here that I didn't go into of the where you're going to have to practice it. You're going to have to get a coach. You're going to have to be called to action. You're going to have a plan. You're going to have to get a coach that was there before, that was where you want to be. You're going to have a coach that knows what they're talking about. You're going to have a coach that you connect with. You're going to have a coach. You're going to have a team. You're going to have to build people in your environment to be able to help you with this thing, because you cannot see the picture when you are inside the frame. That is not like I do want you to come into Grit Gym and get coaching by Grit Gym, but this is called a coaching. If you want to get to this, you get a coach so that you can navigate this area right here, because this is the number one area where people quit and they go back to where they started. Business as usual. Anyway, that's rational change. Hope you guys got something out of that. Please put your perspectives down in the comment section below. Move Strong Games. Registration starts at 8 a.m. on this Saturday. And then the events start at 9 a.m. You must register for the event. You can register you can register that morning. There's that'll be 8 a.m. will be the latest that you can register. There's a few things you have to do before we actually get you going. So if you can, it would help me a lot if you would go to the event section and say that you are attending. But anyway, thanks for being here, guys. I hope you guys got something out of this. Do not underestimate how much work it takes for you to get from where you've always been to the desired outcome that you actually want to be living, because this is a lot of work in between here. A lot of work, and I don't think that it's worth underestimating. I don't think it's worth making harder than it needs to be either, but that's partially why you make the errors and you get a coach. But anyway, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Please like, comment, share. Tell us what you thought.